Mm. Good morning. Hope y'all got y'all cup of coffee and those. It's like a later part of the morning, but like 10:43 or something like that. But it's still morning in some parts of the country. So welcome to the morning cup of coffee with your man Rico. Give y'all a minute to come in. No, I don't have a song in my heart this morning because uh, I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this video. It just came to me this morning. I've looked at it not once, but at least twice. And of the Grand Rapid, Michigan white cop, murdering execution style. This 26-year-old young black man by the name of Patrick Lyoya, Lyoya, Lyoya. What kind of last name is that, I wonder? But sounds like something almost. Anyway, it'll come out. I guess I'll do some more reading to find out exactly where he's from, where his family's from. But I watched the video, and so many thoughts went through my mind, right? And so, and of course, what went through my mind is, okay, this again, and the same MO, pulled over for seemingly something basic or simplistic, and it turns out that the black guy gets murdered for being pulled over for something that's viewed as simplistic. And I'm sure, based on the protests that have taken place since the video, the camera footage from the police officer's vest cam, since it's come out, there's been protests in the streets. There's all kinds of calls being made. The same old stuff. One in fired, prison, blah, blah, blah. And believe it or not, oh, by the way, if y'all checked out my t-shirt, and this has to be, we should ask each other this all the time. Black man, how's your mental health? This is one of my t-shirt designs out of my upcoming Opinionated Tees collection. Black man, how's your mental health? We have to constantly wake up and make sure our mental health is on point. If you're not doing it, you should, as black men, particularly straight black men, masculine black men. How's your mental health? Because in America, it's become a struggle to be straight, meaning it's almost become outlaw to be straight, masculine, and a man in this country. And people are riding high off of that wave politically, economically. They're feeding into it. But that seemed to be what's going on in the country. Masculine black men, masculine men, period. But I'm talking about our community. But masculine black men don't seem to be wanted in this society. Masculine men don't seem to be wanted in this society. So much so that men who say they're masculine, but they fake being masculine so they can get by every day. They lighten their voice, tighten up their walk, tighten up their clothes, tight jacket, tight tie, tight pants, tight shirt, tight drawers, tight socks, tight shoes, tight-lipped. They don't want to express that they're actually a real man in this society. And I feel badly for them. That's why you have to ask, how's your mental health? And then they show these what I call this trauma porn. Because there are people who get off on this. Murdering this blatant murdering and brutalization of black people, particularly black boys and black men. There are people who actually get sexually aroused by this trauma porn that's constantly showed. And if you understand any pages in a book of psychology, repetition breeds normality. They show this trauma porn all day long and become desensitized by it. It's the same tactic that was used when Africans were brought over, kidnapped and brought over, and they wanted to make an example of any African who dared to think about bucking up against the plantation owner and overseers, or think about running away. Those who ran away, they brought them back and made an example of them. And we can read a lot of the horrible examples that were performed. Beatings, hangings, torturing, rape, sodomy, rape of grown men in front of their families by plantation owners and overseers. So this is the same thing for me. 400 years of the foolishness. And we know the stories of paddy rollers and slave catchers. That's what modern day police officers are. And we still wonder, why is it that the men are being attacked like this? I mean, the strong Kunta Kinte type of men are always being attacked. Strong masculine. I'm not comparing Patrick Leola to that. I'm just speaking generally about history. Which breed of black men are always attacked? And it's always the rebellious ones, or the Kunta Kintes. Not the Chicken George or fiddlers. They're not the ones who attacked. Do you understand? And I want y'all to get prepared as you sip your coffee, because I'm about to go there. See, if we believe that we live on a system of racism, white supremacy, or white racism, how come we don't act like it? Jews believe that everybody is against them. They teach their children, everybody's against you because you're Jewish. And guess what they did? They built a fence around their group. They got into the money of America, capitalism. They train their children to go for the money, go for the law. They're in all aspects of the law. They're attorneys, prosecutors, they're judges. They're like in your city and county, they try to be the trustees, and they're all over the money. So therefore, they can buy politicians and they can intimidate anyone in society because they put themselves in different places. Where if you touch one of them, in their mind, they send the back call out, they're touching all of them. And we've seen this. Homosexuals believe that everybody's homophobic and hate them because of their bedroom action. So what do? They make sure they put themselves in places where if you say a word like the F word or any kind of racial, gay slur, people are afraid that they'll lose their jobs. Asians, police officers or anybody, they have to ask permission before they walk into Chinatown. Ah, yeah, but here comes the Americanized African, or the Black American, or the African descendant of slaves, American descendant of slaves, foundational Black American, however you want to categorize it. Here we are, under the Constitution, labeled as 3/5 of a human being. And I have not read in history anywhere where there's been a United States Constitution convention that erased that line, erased that preamble or that paragraph and placed it with no, they're full Americans. Rico, what does it have to do with this recent shooting? Because full Americans don't have to fight for voting rights every 25 years. Full Americans don't. They don't. Even immigrants who come over illegally and then made legal, they get full white people American rights. And blacks are still fighting for voting rights. You ever hear Jews, Asians, Hispanics march for voting rights? Al Sharpton never mentions that. All your so-called black leaders never mention that. I'm going to share something with y'all. I keep telling y'all that American blacks were set up for failure. The process actually began in the 30s and 40s when Ralph Wilkerson and other dated black men who were called the business class or the professional class, them along with homosexual black men and black preachers, they put out a plan that says, well, if we can't beat them, let's join them. They're the ones who began to push for social integration instead of human rights. See, every groups, including even the Haitian Revolution and the Mexican-American War, they didn't fight for civil rights. They were fighting for human rights and be recognized as human beings. Even Native Americans, when they fought to the last American Indian, they were fighting for human rights, the right to roam as free human beings, so saith the Lord. But black people who were headed by black Greek letter blacks, homosexual black men, and religious black men, they call them Negro preachers. They fought for social integration and civil rights. And let you know that those civil rights weren't worth the fart from a frog's ass. Everyone can get in on it. They did. White women, handicapped, Jewish people, gays, they're all taking that civil rights and have benefited from it more so than blacks. You said, Rico, you on the black Greeks again? Well, Steve Coakley educated us a lot about who these people are. I know a lot of you who are listening will pay to watch this video, who went to college with me and who have family members, all who are Greek affiliated. Well, I'm speaking about the origin of the organization. Now, if you choose to take it on and make it about you, it's all on you. Especially if I'm cool with you, I don't have a problem with you. But I'm not going to not speak the truth about the organization that you blindly joined while a kid. Or you got in your 40s and joined this shit. Because history speaks for itself. Black Greeks are not black people. But, and how have you ever noticed that every black leader that we had is really about the people who was non-Greek were assassinated? Y'all never thought about that? Fred Hampton, Malcolm X. You said, well, Dr. King was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. Well, in so many words, Dr. King renounced his Greek letter affiliation when he started speaking for human rights. History has taught us that when he started speaking against the Vietnam War, when he started speaking about the economic disparaging economic, the difference, and what's going on with the economics, that was his way of denouncing, because the black Greek-led organizations have no interest in human rights because they were set up to blend into the white supremacist system. You know what they call the young professionals. Anybody can do it, but they have a mission to get these seats, these positions, so they can say, hey, I am a lawyer. Hey, I am a dentist. Hey, I am a professor. But they don't have any record of civic or human rights activism. Look it up. You ain't got to say, Rico, you lying. History has taught us this. Rico, what the hell has this got to do with the recent shooting of this young man? See, when Dr. King renounced his Greekdom and started behaving like a man of God, that's when he was assassinated. Just like Jesus, just like Malcolm, just like Fred Hampton, just like Patrice Lumumba of an Africa. Hey, it's not me, it's history. No black Greek letter organization, so-called leaders, never been assassinated because they don't go against the grain. They don't really speak against white racism, white supremacy. What they do is they profit off of black trauma with these great speeches and showing these videos over and over again. See, it goes back to the buck breaking days. and make an example of the rebellious slave. When you bring all the Negroes around and show them this will happen to you, well, psychologically, that goes into their brains and then they push it down on their children. The reason this stuff is happening with the police from over and over again, because we've been buck broken. Black men especially. See, the women are just women. They go to whoever the victor is. It's just women. Oh, y'all think I'm lying? Even on the plantation, black women were after a while of being raped, they started volunteering to open their legs for the overseer in the plantation over, because in their minds, we call it the Serena Williams syndrome. If I can have a child by the plantation over, my child will go further than him being a whole African. Because we see how they discriminate against darkies and dark-skinned blacks. And so that's why they volunteered, hoping that their mulatto child would go further. And they knew they did under the system of racism and white supremacy. The same thing is still going on today. Black women have coalesced themselves as a separate group away from black men, because they know that that white man doesn't take her seriously, but he knows that what she has between her legs, and she's more than willing to open her legs. As a matter of fact, they even went to court so she can open her legs for a white man. That Loving versus the United States, there was a black woman who sued the courts to allow her to open her legs for a white man. And black women do that today. And that's why the corporations and all the political groups aim straight for them, because black men don't open their legs or butt cheeks for nobody. Real men don't. So they go for the weaker link in our race. That is either children or the women. Rico, what the hell's that got to do with the young man who was just recently shot and murdered, or shot in the back of the head? So I like to give background on why things are happening, because I learned to do this from listening to our scholars, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. Naeem Akbar, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, Brother Neely Fuller, Dr. Claude Anderson, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Brother Aswa Kwesi, here in Dallas right now. I learned it from listening to the scholars and reading their books. The black masses have put aside the history of who we are so we can socially integrate into the dominant society. Even Dr. King, before he was murdered, he said, "I've made a mistake. I've led my people into a burning house." There was him admitting out loud that a lot of these arrogant, snide, condescending, so-called Negro leaders chosen by CNN, they won't admit that because they make a check off of that. Imagine if they all of a sudden a switch went off and they started thinking like Malcolm and pushing Malcolm's program on black children and black people. Y'all know how far we'd be if we listened to Malcolm instead of those civil rights leaders? How far we would be? We'd be looked at as human beings because we know how to protect ourselves. We would actually be behaving as Americans. You know, we'd be gun owners, legal gun owners. The masses of us will have real legitimate business that employed other blacks, really employed like Ford plants, GM plants, Amazon. We have those businesses like that had we listened to Malcolm. And Dr. King realized that he too was used by the black religious left and the black gay left and the black Greek left to push a social integration agenda. And when God entered his life, come on somebody, that's when he started talking about how they would make very low interest, damn near interest-free loans to white farmers. But wouldn't even give black farmers even a loan. If they did, the interest rates were so high so they can save their farms or improve their farms or mechanize their farms, as Dr. King stated. We never show those videos to black boys and black girls. We only show the ones where dogs are biting them on the ass and they're getting their ass beat on that dumbass Pettis Bridge. You ever notice how all those folks that got their ass whooped are now looked at as civil rights icons? That was their reward. And then they entered into public office and continued pushing an agenda that had nothing to do with black people and human rights for blacks in this country. I know a lot of you hate when I use the word race, but America's built and created based on race. And I'm not going to deviate from the truth. Lyndon Baines Johnson said years ago, I think it was him who said it, we are going to have the Negro voting for Democrat for the next 200 years, and we're going to pick your leaders. Before him, J. Edgar Hoover said, as he continued his onslaught attack on black organizations that pushed independence and freedom, human freedom for blacks, he said, we must prevent the rise of a black messiah. J. Edgar Hoover, who was a closet homosexual, who often walked around with his boyfriend in his little federal FBI suits, but he was gay as all get out. Then that civil rights movement, you know what it was. They stuck somebody who was in charge of that whole little clan by the name of Bayard Rustin. I think he might have, I don't know if he was Greek, but he was definitely gay as all get out. So much so that he was caught getting ghetto gagged by the white police in the 1950s by two white men being tossed up in the back seat in a park, charged with lewd and lascivious acts. And he was just pardoned recently for that crime. Tossed up. These are the people who led the civil rights movement. Booty bandits. Hershey Highway travelers. Sword swallowers. Those are the people who led the civil rights movement. These are the men. Black gays and black Greeks. Sometimes they were all the same. Black, gay, and a preacher. But Dr. King, somehow he was shaken from that matrix, or that spell of Leviathan was broken, and that's when he started speaking differently to the chagrin of the black gays, black Greeks, and black preachers. And when they got rid of him, he was the last one. I think when they got rid of him, they went ahead and cleaned up who was left of the Black Panthers, neutralized them. And so now you have today everybody who come off of CNN, Angela Rye, Don Lemonade, these Charles Blows. You got all these gay and black Greeks talking about white racism on white people's networks. Joe Rico, you on Facebook and all that? Well, you know, well, one of these days I'll get mine, but I don't get paid. I'm just using this as a vehicle to communicate. But when they take it away, I'm not going to cry about it. Get me off Facebook or YouTube, I don't care. I'm just here as long as it's here. So, what does this have to do with the recent shooting? This is the same thing I said when they murdered Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, all these black men, unarmed, murdered. But until we understand, if we truly believe that racism and white supremacy exists, we need to act like it. I gave y'all examples of other people believe that someone hates them. That's how they react. I'm not a huge fan of the police, so I try to do everything in my power not to get their attention. And I'm not exempt from being pulled over. Like I have been pulled over. Even if I didn't have my license, which I always have my license. Even if I have my insurance, which maybe a couple of times I didn't, but luckily they didn't ask for that. We're going to have to stop going directly to the murder all the time and let's look at the whole thing. The reason this is happening because we're either too stupid or too afraid to protect ourselves. History is, I just gave y'all a piece of history. But we get the college degrees, but it's like we're getting dumber by the summer as a community, as a race in this country. For us to have been here 400 years, why don't we own anything? I mean, the stuff that employs us, we should own it. Amazon, Lockheed Martin, what else? FedEx. Why isn't there a black man or even black woman, black woman? They'll get it before we will, because the name of the game is to empower them. When you empower the women and attack the men, there goes the race. You can't have a race without masculine, strong men. It's just not going to happen. And so even in our faces, they're just giving stuff to black women, and they think, and got the black women thinking they're actually powerful. And black women aren't powerful because they're not working with black men. What they are they're tools. And they're not powerful, they're just powerful consumers. But they this narcissism, this ego in their heads actually think that they're accomplishing things. When in actuality, they're still living off the backs of dead black men, just like everybody else. Dr. Joanza Kunjufu always wrote about countering the conspiracy to destroy black boys. And I'm one of those who believes that when you destroy the boy, the man is already done. You're like, what's Dr. Joanza, Dr. Shucks, Dr. Joanza Kunjufu said? Well, if you destroy the black boy, you have destroyed a black man. Michael Porter writes in his book, "Kill them before they grow." Y'all know what that means? Kill them mentally or physically, but mainly mentally. Because as Dr. Carter G. Woodson said in his book, what is it? Carter G. Woodson's book. How are these things leaving me? Carter G. Woodson's book, Miseducation of the Negro. If you can capture a man's mind, or if you control his mind, his body will follow. It's a mind game. It's a mind thing. It's psychology. And we all sniff on psychology. You can't get no job with no psychology degree. Well, maybe that's not what the purpose of studying the social sciences are. Maybe to study social sciences is to teach others about how the brain functions and how people can program or deprogram the mind. When you learn how the mind works, then you know the crux of how racism, white supremacy can still have a grip on your life. When you are taught that you should be free and not just be coalescing civilly. See, we don't have a freedom mindset. We still taught it under civil. Civil means, well, I ain't cool with you, but I don't like you. I'm just going to get along with you because I guess the law says I have to. That's civil. We can be civil, but I can't stand your ass. That's what American blacks settle for, civil. See, when you're a human, you don't give a damn what no one thinks of you because you're too busy doing you. See, those who go under civil rights are still concerned about what other people think about them, and they're still trying to go in these other people's homes and their restaurants and their businesses and volunteer their money and their labor instead of using your money and your labor to build yourself. See, these are the civil rights blacks. They made a good living off of black trauma, and so here we are today. And they'll say to me, what you tripping about? It was civil rights movement. The civil rights movement didn't give me any rights. God did. Just like the Haitians in Haiti during the French and their little revolution, they wasn't fighting for no civil rights with no damn French. They wanted human rights, and they won. Native Americans wasn't fighting for no civil rights with George Washington and Andrew Jackson. They were fighting for human existence. The Spanish-Mexican-American War, they weren't fighting for no damn civil rights at that Mexico-Texas border. They were fighting for human rights. And they did a good job. But we fucked around and got led into civil rights like dumbasses. And here we are, 100 years later. Well, our right to vote is being threatened. And that's how they get to vote. We got to vote because them mean old Republicans going to take yours right to vote. Why do I have to fight for a right to vote and I'm an American? I'm going to ask that question again. I need all the intelligent blacks who may get mad at what I'm saying. Answer me this question. Why, if you are an American, supposedly under the United States Constitution, why do we allow a politician every 2 years or 4 years to sucker us out of our votes based on this false premise of losing your right to vote? Well, I'll say premise. Because if they can just take your right to vote, that means you're never an American. That sound about right? I want to speak slowly and clearly before I get to that video. I watched the video And we act like, and let me tell you something about black Americans and particularly these black males out here. Not all, but y'all know what I'm talking about. It's a segment up here that make me wonder, I said, these people retarded. Do they not ever watch TV or watch on YouTube or anything? And when it comes to this type of situation, I know that all of us on YouTube, when there's a fight video, I know that all of us on Instagram and we're on Twitter when it comes to showing sex videos of women twerking. But when it comes to issues like this, it's like those same young black dudes, they don't know anything about this. They don't see any of this on social media. It's the weirdest thing. Because that guy, Patrick, behaved as if he'd never ever heard of a George Floyd or Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, Philando Castillo, Jon Stewart. None of them. Act like he've never heard of any of this. And they act as if they never watched the video. Well, black men were given tutorials on how to behave when stopped by the police. And one thing they say is, don't hold court in the streets. Hold court in courts. Make their behinds look stupid in court. Now, I'm not saying that he should have been murdered execution style. Of course not. But if you believe that the white man is the devil, you believe that we under racism, white supremacy, you believe the cops ain't shit, how come we don't act like it? And then we're going to have to start telling the truth about what's going on in the black race, which too many of us. I watched that video, and the first thing I saw was a red flag. If you believe the cops a bunch of punk-ass, weak-ass, bitch-ass boys, act like it. Because in those tutorial videos, those black dudes say, hey, the goal is to come home after a police stop, right? So there's a segment of black men who obviously don't watch those videos, but they can watch any video on a rap song that's talking about trapping and ops and showing money everywhere and young ladies twerking their booty cheeks. And they watch all those videos, but they don't watch videos like this. And that's a problem. Because you have to be diverse in your viewing, I believe. Now, you can listen to everything that T.I. says, anything that Moneybagg Yo says. You can, I bet all of them were tuned into the funeral of recently slain, or not recently, but yeah, kind of recently slain rapper Young Dolph. I bet all of them were clued into that. But they seem to have missed the videos when they're teaching young black men, hey, you're the target. Because there's tons of them. They're telling young black men, don't hold court in the street. The goal is to survive a traffic stop. All of us can be hit with a traffic stop. It depends on behavior. Then you have those, well, it don't matter. If they're going to kill you, they're going to kill you. I get that. But isn't the goal is not to blatantly give them any reason? They don't have to have a reason. You black. Yeah, because that's why you got stopped over. But this is not the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 30s, or 40s. Because, let me run the video down to y'all. Maybe, I'd like to think we saw the same thing. And it could have been doctor, all of it's relevant, whatever you want to say. But let's say we watched this video, right? Because like we all did. Black man, how's your mental health? Make sure if you're a black man, you see another black dude, just ask him, how your mental health, bro? And if he want to tell you, give him about 2 minutes to let him tell you. When the car pulls up, the young man is already out of the car. And of course, the bitch assness of the cop. What are you doing on the car? Listen, get back in the car. And the black dude, okay. What are you doing? So he said, all right, what's your license? Man, what'd you stop me for? What'd you stop me for? See, that's going to become a made fun of meme, like Caucasians. What you stop me for? What you stop me for? That's going to become a funny meme by white folks. The same way they've done with it. I ain't do nothing. I ain't do nothing. These broken English East Coast spanking little bastards. I ain't do nothing. They made a meme out of that line. I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. The white folks have made a meme out of that and they think it's funny. I think it's sick. So now, what did I do? What did I do? That's going to become another meme for these Negro males. So something's not clicking with these dudes. So Rico, he has the right to do whatever. He's American. No, but if we're Americans, why do we still have to fight for voting rights if we're full Americans? See, y'all not catching this. The scholars already tried to tell you. But we won't read those black books because we move beyond that. The purpose of history is so you won't repeat the foolishness in the present. And then you let white Jews and white other folks tell y'all, and these educated Negro blacks, well, there's no need to live in the past. When you study the past, you're going to stay in the past. Just shut the F up. You don't tell Jews to let the Holocaust go. You don't tell them not to teach their 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 15-year-old Jewish children. Never forget the Holocaust. You don't tell them not to teach that. See, we're so busy under the civil rights spell of trying to socially integrate and want to, party with white folks. And look, before I go there, I've gone to mixed clubs, I've gone to concerts, I do everything in the country. But I always go and understand that I'm black. I don't go to a place where it's majority whites. I don't go anywhere where they give me a problem at the door. Anywhere. If you say, hey, you can't wear that shirt, I'm going to get the hell on. Because I'm not going to force you to take my money. And I probably won't even put you on video trying to shame you. And I'm sick of these black males doing that. They just had one recently. There's a video, I don't know where it was. This black dude was he had on tennis shoes. But they was letting a white guy with the same tennis shoes on, about the same tennis shoes in the bar. And they was holding the black dude up saying he can't wear tennis shoes, but if you're going to come in, you have to buy a bottle service at the door before we let you in. This with the little punk ass white boy bouncers. See, that took me back to something that happened in Dallas about 5 years ago. This black dude was trying to go into this Japanese restaurant off of 75 downtown Dallas in that area, or uptown. They're all dressed kind of similar. They let the white friends in, but they told him he can come in because of his tennis shoes or whatever. And they had on the same stuff. He was so hurt. He was so offended. His feelings were just crushed. He went to the news media and he went to the Dallas City Council to complain. And I looked at that stupid buckwheat Negro. So you finna punish white people for being white, huh? You mad because they wouldn't let you in. What you should have been paying attention to if your white friends went into that club and left you out there. All the restaurants in Dallas, uptown, downtown, far north, west. You're mad because they didn't let you in. Did you know that happened to me before in Memphis? I was going to a club. It's called Club 2000, something out in East Memphis. It was a mixed club. I had gone there before. It was just me, just in there chilling. But this night, these white bouncers seemed to be systematically weeding out black males. Now, you could come in if you was a black male with like 3 white friends, they let you in. But if you was a black male with 2 other black dudes, it was just y'all, they said, your license here has a chip on it, or your license is peeling. You can't wear that shirt here. They did everything. And I don't know how I think my license had like a peel on it. He told me. So I went out, I just kind of looked around, noticed that there was this crowd of black folks. Now, black females can come in there too. She was with like 3 white girls, and they was with white folks, they let them in. But if you was just standalone blacks, you and other blacks, they were kind of like systematically discriminating. And I stood out there, and you know me, I'm an observant kind of dude. I just like to sit back and see what's going on. So I went to that crowd of blacks. And I was like, I just kind of listened like, damn, what's going on? They ain't letting nobody in, blah, blah, blah. Just to spark up the conversation. They being racist. Look at them. They let them in. They got on tennis shoes. They got on blue jeans. Oh, they gonna let the black girl in there, the black dude, because she got white friends. All these things. And I looked at them, and I just looked at them, complained about them not taking their money. I left that night and found somewhere else to go. Because one thing about it, I'm not going to force nobody to accept me, or sure as hell not going to force you to take my money. And that's the civil rights minded Negro in America. Leave White people alone who don't want to be bothered with your ass. When someone says to you, I don't even want you to come in my place of business, that means they don't want you, and they're telling you they don't want your money. Take your stupid, dumb, black behind somewhere and go somewhere where they'll take your money. I stopped going to this Mexican restaurant in Memphis, off of Poplar. It was called something else. It's right across the street, Poplar in Hollywood. It's a Mexican restaurant right next to the old W2430 building off of Union Extended, right there on the corner there. I'm letting you know what it is. It's changed names over the years. My friends and I used to go there for Homeboy Fridays, right? And you know, Mexican people love white folks. They love them. We were doing just fine. It's like 4 or 5 black dudes. We drinking margaritas. We come there every Friday, tip. But all of a sudden, we were in there this one Friday. And now we were in there first. But all of a sudden, a lot of white customers started coming in. And so the Mexicans stopped. They just stopped walking past our table. Like, hey, oh, excuse me. Excuse me. A lot of white folks started coming in. The Mexicans started, they're like, we weren't there. So I said, oh, okay. Now they're treating us like we're black. Because all the white customers have come in now. And that was the last night I went. It's about 16 years ago. So the name has changed a lot. So when I recognize you trying to treat me like a black customer, ain't no problems. Get my ass and take my money and go elsewhere. Scott, because I'm not a civil rights minded Negro. The reason white supremacy is so blaringly and blatantly in the attacking blacks in this country, because we have this civil rights mindedness. If we thought like freed human beings, like the Asians, the Hispanics, the Jews, Italians, and everybody else, even homosexual, these subgroups like LGBT, if we thought like them, we won't have any problem with the police. Especially if we thought like those Haitians with the French, if we thought like those Mexicans with those Spaniards with the Americans, if we thought like those Japanese with the Americans, the Vietnamese with the Americans, if we had that mindset, they would respect us. So y'all fill in the blanks what I mean by the relationship they had. Everybody's had a war with the white man except for black men and black women in this country. When it's time for us to pick up arms against the white American, we allowed the black Greek, the black preacher, and the black homosexual male to tell us to get on our knees and pray for our trespassers. That's why this cop stuff is still happening. And in closing, what did you do in high school or junior high school to get a bully off your back? That is the answer. The end of this police BS that's happening in the black community. And we're going to have to be honest about our behavior. Dr. Claude Anderson has a video that says it's entitled Inappropriate Behavior. I would like to challenge you, encourage you to watch that movie, watch that video, Inappropriate Behavior. Please. Because we seem to be so anti-black, so we like to put people down and call them pro-blacks. That's the stuff that save your life. And I also give you a certain level of dignity and self-respect that you won't let nobody disrespect you. Now, we good at not letting other blacks disrespect them, man. We pull our guns, don't step up in my tennis shoes, don't watch your mouth. But when it comes to white Americans, we tend to buckle up. We allow things to happen to us economically, politically, educationally. We allow our children just to be dogged out. And then you wonder why they grew up angry and self-hating. You ever wonder why members of the Nation of Islam don't have these problems with white folks and police officers and teen pregnancy and gangs and all of that? What is it that Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and Minister Farrakhan has taught the members over the years of in the Nation of Islam? Because whatever the black church is teaching is getting us shot at by the police. It's getting us harassed by white race soldiers. It's getting us messed over in this system of racist white supremacy. What is it? Come on, somebody. That they're teaching in the Quran that the Holy Bible is not reaching these Negroes. What? I'm just asking questions because The solutions, the answers are right in front of us, but we're so civil rights minded that we're losing. I don't agree with everything Mr. Farrakhan says, but I agree with at least 97%. It seems like the Nation of Islam is the only group in the black race that can get some hardened criminals out of jail and make them into a Malcolm X. Isn't that something? What is it? Come through, Dick Gregory. That they're teaching them in the Nation of Islam that the black church can't seem to reach. Because it's a mindset. Racism, white supremacy is not going to go away unless you do what those brave men and women of those other tribes and cultures did before you. You're not willing to pick up a missile, a bomb, or you're not willing to behave as if you're at war, because we always say, we're at war. Well, if you're not willing to pick up your ammunition, to arm yourselves, protect yourselves, the way the Haitians did, the way the Vietnamese did, the way the Japanese did, the way the Mexicans or Spaniards did. Who else fought? And all those groups are now respected by this government. They're respected even by the states, federal government, state. They're respected. But black Americans still get treated like the buckwheats, farinas, Aunt Jemimas, buck dancing, belly warmers of the plantation. PhD blacks, tight suit wearing blacks, proper English speaking blacks, thug blacks, street dudes, ratchets, boss bitches, you're all black. You're getting treated like shit because your mind is bad. The scholars died trying to teach us. So I guess we have to continue to get spanked on the ass until we recognize that God is trying to tell you something. But because it has something to do with you standing up for yourself, you ain't trying to hear it. There's no other way. And again, what did you do to get the bully off your back in the 9th grade? That's the solution. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your coffee. I just wanted to share my thoughts. I didn't think he should have been murdered at all. But if you think the cops are a bunch of racist pigs, you think we live in America as racist, act like it. Peace.